Hey, welcome back. This is Steve here. We're going to take a look at a blast from the past, German Schnellboot. And this kit is from 1975. I'm pretty sure I grabbed it as soon as it hit the shelf. A sucker for box art, so I saw this, had to have it, bought it, and it has survived. What are we talking now? Close to 40 years. Many moves from one house to another, many trips stowed in the attic and taken out and stowed again. Somehow it survived, and I just started building it, and figured before I got too far, we'll do a kit review on it. But there is an issue with the hull, which I've heard online from other sources, but overall, I like the kit. It's a good one. So let's take a look. Okay, well, here we are. Let's take a look inside and see what's up with the Schnellboot. Save these for later. So right off the bat, I started looking around online and saw a few people talking about this kit and that there was a problem with the hull. So it does come with a lower hull in case you want to remove this for a diorama and have the boat sitting in water. It's a cool feature. I'm not going to do that, so I will be adding this. But what's left, now I have the deck on here. It's just dry fit. But the two halves of the hull, you can see the seam down the middle here. And I put the hull together, and when you hold it together, both ends of the hull are split open. It's warped. So what I did was I held the hull together. I cemented, took some Tamiya extra thin, cemented just the center, held that together. I let that dry overnight. Actually, I think I might have let it dry 2 days. Next step, I took the bow that was split open right here, and I held it together with my hands. It's very awkward to try and clamp this. When you clamp it, it tends to want to draw the top of the hull together. It kind of folds it in half. So it was a very difficult clamp, so I held it with my hands, more Tamiya extra thin. I held it with one hand for a while and took my airbrush and just sprayed air on it to get it to dry quicker. Once that was done, then I put somewhat of a clamp on it, let that dry overnight. Then I went back, did the same on the other end, but I also put the end cap on. That's glued on. That way I was able to clamp it up better. It has the pegs here that fit into the lower hull. Those is half of one on each half of the hull, so that was a good piece to clamp onto. So I clamped that up. Then I dry fitted the deck to hold the top of the hull apart, because the top of the hull tended to bow in as I was trying to keep the halves together. So I put the deck on to keep them at the right distance, put the rubber bands on, and then sat it under. I have a desk lamp right here. I sat it under the lamp. It wasn't hot, but it was slightly warm. I set it under there for 2 days to try and let the seam dry up at the angle it needs to be at. It's a little bit bowed now to get this all to work, but the deck itself fits fantastic. There's just two little spots where the spaces for the torpedoes to get by, but I'll just have to hold them in place So you hold them in place, it fits nicely. The rest of the seam is perfect. The deck fits on there. A little bit of help when I glue it. It's just an excellent fit. Also, right away you see some good detail on this. Everything on this is very clean and precise. Any slots for other parts to be put in, they're fantastic. I've been building a few cheap kits lately, and it's really a breath of fresh air to see something with such good detail. And the lower hull, I have the rubber bands on here, so it's hard to tell, but the lower hull fits almost perfectly. Once the lower hull's in place, it's almost as if you could paint this black. Paint the gray on the hull, and just glue them together and not worry about that line, because it all but disappears when the two pieces are together. You have to be real careful with glue not to get on the paint, but that's how good this fit is. Only problem being is that the actual paint line is slightly above the seam of the two parts, so you'd be kind of cheating if you did that, but I've cheated before. But this one, I think I'll put it together and do just a tiny bit of putty, maybe Mr. Surfacer, and do some sanding and do that part right. I don't always do everything right, but that one I think I'll do right. Again, just wanted to show very clean parts on this. Very clean, very precise. It looks like, now that I've got the hull together, everything will go together very, very well. I'll do an update at the end when this is done, just to confirm that. Okay, let's check out the first sprue I pulled out. I still like the detail on this. Got the depth charges, a couple of figures. Some of the finished models I've seen online, I don't know, I just don't like the way the figures look on the ship. But we'll see how that goes. And now I'm seeing something I should have seen before. 3 torpedo halves. Hold on. Got, hallelujah. Yeah, that was in the box. Every time I pick up one of these sprues, a piece falls off. Usually the smaller ones, but I have to be real careful. So what else do we have? The propellers. There's a little bit of flash on the propellers, I think. Let's take a look at some of that. And the propellers, unfortunately, there's ejector pin marks on the propellers. Railings and whatnot are very good, clean, detailed. One thing I see here is on the depth charges, they've got rivets or bolts along the edges of the depth charges. Nice. That's it for that one. Get that torpedo. Before we start with this sprue, the last one, I noticed on one of the deck pieces, let's get it focused here, underneath the piece, which will never show, is an arrow. I have no clue why that's there. Look at the directions, don't know. This piece has plenty of features where you can tell which direction it should go. So why would the manufacturer put a pretty defined arrow underneath there? This piece we have as the support. The other one, let's look in my box of missing pieces, is not there. Hopefully that's not what that was. Maybe that's somewhere else. Let's hope. Some more railings. That's about it on this. I think this is the main mast. It's a little bent from where. See how that goes. And torpedo tubes. Let's see, there's a little bit of detail on those. Next up, another big deck piece, some more railings, the wheel, and life rafts. We'll take a look a little closer. Good detail on the life rafts. The large deck piece, very clean. More canvas. And let's take a look at the inside of the life raft because there's some detail in there. And how much detail is just the separations of the planks. And there's the wheel. And some railings. Again, all the railings are very clean. All the parts are clean. One more. The rear gun deck. Some of the guns, anchor. Here's the other support. Glad I'm not missing that. And some railings. Again, no flash. The rear gun deck. And pieces like this, I've kind of felt around the edges, they don't have that standard, that one seam line running down all these very thin parts that you have to take care of. They're very smooth. There's going to be very little cleanup needed on parts like that. And we've got the glass. Extra mixed in. The glass is really clean. Just worked with some kits where the glass was useless. These pieces have what seem to be, I don't know, bolts. Flip them over. But I'm hoping they're supposed to be there. But as far as seeing through the glass, they're pretty clean. And decals. That's to make the flag. And the numbering. I guess there's a significance to each numbered boat, why you'd want to make 10 or 12. Don't know enough about them to comment on that. And brings us to the directions. These are quite old. So let's back up. Right off the bat, you get a nice story. It's 3 languages, but 2 paragraphs in each language. Quite a bit of information on the history of the Schnellboot. This one, it does say the early series S-boat for which markings are supplied. So they're claiming this is an early series, but it doesn't say in particular which model S-boat it is. For the paint schemes, that's the dilemma. If this really is an early series, I'd really like to paint the hull, the bottom of the hull, reddish brown. I've seen places where it said later models used reddish brown on the bottom of the hull. That's the color I think looks the coolest. But according to the directions, this may be an early series S-boat. So that's a decision I'm going to have to make. I may cheat and paint the bottom the red because it just looks cool. I've been known to do that. So we'll see. I have to make that decision. I got a little time before I have to do that. But the colors it's calling for, one is slate gray. I haven't looked to see if anyone makes a slate gray. The numbers are M2 slate gray, M6 black, M13 light aircraft gray. I've got plenty of that. And M14 is just buff. And some of the other colors are white, gold. This one I've never heard of, post office red. I don't know where that gets painted. It's on another page. But post office red's in there, and mid Brunswick green. Try and match those up somehow. And these are quite yellowed. A little brittle. I think they'll hang in there, but maybe by the end of the build there'll be cracks on all the seams of this paper. So it gives you the option, as I said before, of leaving the lower hull off if you sit it in a diorama. I'm going to be mounting it on a stand, but all of this, the rudders, the propellers, the shafts, I'm definitely not going to do those first. I'm going to do those last, otherwise I'll break them all off. Pretty straightforward. It says here, cement the deck before proceeding. Interesting. We'll have to see about that. The torpedo tubes, so they're pretty good. The doorways on those are, you can swivel them. I believe at both ends, even the hatch at the other end. So you can have those open. I guess you could display it with a torpedo being fired or a torpedo being loaded, or both ends closed. Sometimes that tells you where to put the figures. I'm not sure. 2 of the figures are just standing with their hands kind of halfway elevated at their sides. It looks kind of creepy. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to pose them, but it looks like normal that they're leaning on a rail or something like that, but I don't see it. But it has mounting the guns, the depth charges. I've seen a few completed builds online and there's no depth charges. I don't know why you would choose not to put those in there. But there's quite a bit of those displayed. And the completed build shows where the rigging should go. Pretty detailed. You can tell where all the rigging goes. It's pretty explicit. It's nice. And that's it. So this is going to be a fun build, especially since I've been building cheap kits for a while. It looks like this is going to go together very nicely. And a little blast from the past from 1975. And I'll throw something up when it's done and we'll see how it comes out. Thanks for watching.